So this is going to be a very interesting video, as I've been doing a lot of research right now on, of course, the China coronavirus and the theory that it came from Chinese people eating bats, which we're going to question and look into a lot of interesting details surrounding a lot of the information that we're getting. Some of it fear-mongering, some of it we should be taking seriously, but we will be breaking all of this down on this independent media organization that is supported by clothes, t-shirts, hats, all of which you could get on our Teespring store. And by purchasing these very well-made, professional, amazing, eye-opening, conversation-starting t-shirts, this is the newest one that we have right now, you allow these videos to be for free for you every single day. The only reason I'm able to sit here and do hours of research, hours of homework, and to condense all this information for you is because of t-shirts. So sincerely, thank you everyone who supports us through merchandise. Now, obviously, outside of the celebrity news, the majority of headlines have been dominated around the coronavirus, which we are now seeing a fifth U.S. case emerge. The latest one coming from Arizona, literally where I just came from. As of course, we are getting warnings that this deadly infection can spread before even symptoms show. And of course, with this disease spreading, a lot of people are panicked. A lot of people are affected by the fear of this, while others say that a lot of this is just bull. But just looking at some of the latest information right now, what we do see is the Chinese government definitely taking this very seriously. And after watching this video, you will understand that there's really big economic, geopolitical, and health effects through, of course, their major actions during what people are calling a crisis. As, of course, long-distance travel has been shut down and banned all throughout China. Tens of millions of people are quarantined, while, of course, government officials keep deleting footage and information that criticizes them, makes them look bad, or videos that they say is, quote, fake, that reportedly show very distressing situations. And the Chinese censors are definitely in full effect, as videos are sometimes even instantaneously just deleted, and it's very hard to make out exactly what is happening there, as of course, government censorship is in full swing throughout China, suppressing a lot of important information. Now, one of the decisions that China decided to make is to ban many of the wildlife trade markets that some scientists point to being the cause of this outbreak. Meanwhile, as we've been reporting to you, we've been saying it's really too early to say that this outbreak came from an animal market, and we even brought up the possibility that it could have been a bioweapons facility, which the city of Wuhan, where this virus originated from, actually had. Now, you should know this, but governments, including the US government and the Chinese governments, have advanced biological chemical warfare programs where they try to make the worst kind of bioweapon possible. This is what, for some reason, governments do. They also build nuclear weapons and just weapons that kill humans. The military-industrial complex is, of course, a very vast and powerful entity, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But there's an interesting article here by Zero Hedge that points to the fact that this coronavirus could have came from Canada, since last year a very mysterious shipment was caught smuggling a strain of the virus from Canada. Now, it's also important to understand with coronavirus, there are many different strains of coronavirus, and it is not just one strain that is affecting everyone now. It is a completely new strain that, of course, humans don't have immunity to, and this is why it's having such devastating effects. Now, some people are pointing to Chinese biological espionage, specifically to a Canadian lab, which could have been stolen, weaponized, and possibly escaped from China either by accident or deliberately. We even have an article here from 2015 from The Scientist that is titled "Lab-Made Coronavirus Triggers Debate," with a byline reading, "The creation of a chimeric SARS-like virus has scientists discussing the risks of gain-of-function research," with even many scientists warning that a lot of this development, studying, and looking into this was very dangerous. There's even another previous article, also dating back to 2015, saying that, quote, a SARS-like cluster of circulating bat coronavirus shows potential for human emergence. Of course, detailing the exact situations that we are being told about right now, which again, I believe many people are just erroneously pointing to bat eating, which again, this whole practice should be criticized in itself, and the Chinese government even made entertainers in China who made this popular publicly apologize for this. But again, we have to understand here that the official story that we're getting, that all of this came from kind of bat soup, that all of this came from this market, doesn't really make sense. Since patient 0, the first person who was found to have this coronavirus, according to Chinese scientists, had no contact with that market at all. And many other researchers are saying that the first person with all these symptoms of coronavirus had nothing to do with that market. Now, we have to understand some of the history here, which is, of course, obviously important. Because of Mao Zedong, because of the communist regime gaining power all throughout China, in one subsequent response to this was, of course, a great famine that made Chinese people eat anything and everything that was around them, including bats. This is why the Chinese have a culture of eating extremely weird stuff like bats. It is also important to point out that there are many cities in China with, of course, larger populations than Wuhan that, of course, also eat bats. And the fact that this virus did appear next to one of the top bioweapons research centers in China should also raise a lot of alarms. So the fact that this could be a weaponized bioweapon is something that is in the realm of possibility here. But again, it's still too early to call. And even when you look at people blaming bat soup and the fish market and the animal market, you still see scientists say that they think that this could be the origin of this virus. But yet again, we still do not know. It is still too early to call, and we still have a government that is censoring any independent information from coming out there, which should be made aware by everyone. So it is possible that this is one scenario that we are seeing unfolding here. And we are definitely seeing the Chinese government take this very seriously as we're getting more information that this virus can spread from person to person before the person even realizes that they have it, which should alarm a lot of people, especially with the latest actions from the U.S. State Department that is ordering the close to 1,000 people in the city of Wuhan to be evacuated, and even chartering their own planes to take the people from Wuhan to the United States. A move that should be criticized here, as, again, people could have the virus and not even know it and continue to spread it. So the fact that the State Department is moving personnel directly from Wuhan to the United States in a, quote, one-time flight to San Francisco is a little bit worrisome. And if I was at the State Department, I definitely wouldn't be volunteering to be the stewardess on that flight. Let's just say that. As of course, we're getting more confirmed cases all throughout the United States. And if I just read articles about all the other confirmed cases where it's happening in the United States, this would be a video with me just doing that. Chinese officials are also warning that the virus is becoming more transmissible. And we have to understand that, you know, a lot of people did evacuate that city that could be affected by it. Some people estimate close to 5 million people were evacuated from that city and could be affected by this. Now, it's interesting to see the State Department take the position that it is, especially under Donald Trump. And it's interesting to see Donald Trump's kind of reaction to all of this, who is saying that China is working very hard to contain this coronavirus and that he wants to personally thank the Chinese president. Meanwhile, in 2014, during the Ebola scare, which again, we have to understand here, every few years there is a major illness and virus scare that the mainstream media usually runs with, that the pharma industrial complex usually profits off of, which should be noted. But during the 2014 Ebola scare, we saw Donald Trump on a Twitter storm, with Trump saying that then President Obama should refuse flights from West Africa because, as he said it, quote, it's almost like he's saying F you to the U.S. public. He also said a single Ebola carrier infects 2 others at a minimum. Quote, stop the flights, no visas from Ebola-stricken countries. Going on, President Obama, close down the flights from Ebola-infected areas right now before it's too late. What the hell is wrong with you? This is one of my favorites. Quote, isn't it ridiculous? Starting today, new Ebola screenings go into effect for people coming from West Africa. Just stop the flights, dummies, as his State Department is literally flying in people to San Francisco with a disease that they could have and not even know about and transfer it to other people. While, of course, other countries like Taiwan are deciding to take this even more seriously and fining patients $10,000 for hiding their illness. And there are a lot of reckless individuals, like a man who failed to disclose his symptoms and then went out to nightclubs after freshly returning from Wuhan and showing symptoms of coronavirus. And again, I could go on case by case of just individuals faking and figuring out ways to lie throughout the screenings so they won't be detected for the virus, and then going out and bragging about it on social media. Now, the Wuhan mayor is saying that he expects another 1,000 coronavirus cases, as there's some video that's being unverified of just outright panic and chaos in that city. Some are warning 90,000 cases in China alone. And again, the way that China is responding to this is something that is really worth noting here, because it kind of signals that things are getting out of hand there. And China being willing to sacrifice one of its most important holidays, to sacrifice economic success, is very telling, because as a state, as a top-down government, as a huge bureaucratic government, it's extremely rare to see such actions from the Chinese state. And they are even using AIDS drugs to fight this latest virus, which again, many other people are fearing could mutate and become more transmissible. The effects on the Chinese economy are already very significant, as you can imagine, especially with a lot of the public transportation being shut down, a lot of fear, a lot of panic, and people generally being scared to go outside. This is a reality that is here, is present, is right in front of us, and can't be denied. As even the New York Times puts it, in coronavirus, a battle that could humble China's strongman, which again talks about some of the detrimental effects on the Chinese state because of these latest actions and the bigger effects of China on the geopolitical world stage because of this, especially with international travel and a situation that already feels, from the outside looking in, completely out of hand. And the censorship, the shutting down, the deleting of videos and pictures and other witnesses coming forward, giving first-hand eyewitness accounts, definitely doesn't help relax a lot of people towards the situation that is unfolding now. And in my opinion, especially speaking from the state perspective, it is best to treat this situation seriously. It is best to treat this situation as if the Chinese government was lying and hiding a lot of important information, because the likelihood of them doing this is pretty high, and they have a big track record of doing so. And let's not deny ourselves of that very, very important fact. Now, they are taking this extremely serious. That does not mean we should give our blind and complete faith to Big Pharma, which has a very bad reputation. But overall, we should understand that stress and fear and this constant bombardment of you're gonna die, death, 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 is something that hurts you, not only in your mental state, but also your physical state, and has shown to have detrimental effects on your immune system. So during this time, I always stress it's always important to be informed of all the details, all the information, all the theories out there, but to always be prepared for everything with a calm and rational mind, where you could actually face adversities in a way where it won't hurt you. It's best at this time to, of course, spread knowledge and information on how to just do simple things, how not to spread viruses and diseases. And I think it's also important to check up on your immune system and do things that are good for it. Now, of course, I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional. I am not giving you medical advice, but I would love to hear what are some of your things that you do as an individual to boost up your immune system, to protect your body, your gut, your working, physical, incredible structure that we call the human body. I would love to have that conversation down below. And again, don't fear, don't panic, be aware of the situation, be smart, and be ahead of that game. If you thought I helped you do that in some way by providing all this information and research, share this video with your friends and family members, because just because we talked about the coronavirus, YouTube automatically will demonetize, downrank, and not show this video to a lot of people. We have a huge number of subscribers. The video is barely getting out there. We're not making any money off of it, so we started making t-shirts. And because you guys still support us, because we are still here, because we still exist against all odds, this is why I say I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on WeAreChange.org.